Hello everybody and welcome back. I am Titan9 and today we're going to go on a bit of a journey as I walk you through the Gundam Wing Operation Meteor deck that was very popular and then kind of fell off and now is coming back. This is where a lot of people had ended up in this Meteor control build because your top end is better than pretty much any other deck out there. Even blue-white, and they've got some big boys at the top end of that curve. You've got Death Scythe that can get first strike on something. Doesn't even need to be duo to do it. Just needs to be an Operation Meteor pilot. You've got Wing Gundam that can attack active units. Big deal. Of course, Wing Zero blows up a lot of stuff. And then to get you there, blocker, 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 blocker. Right? Lafriths, Zawarts, launch strikes, aisle strikes, just something to get you all the way up the curve. Level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, and then all of your level 6s can take over. You also have bird mode here to help ramp you up in there. You got 0-6 bases. 6 seems to be the magic number with a base. It can be hard for those really quick decks to get there, to throw over 6. They get to 5 pretty easily when they pilot something, but 6 is a lot harder for them to do. You got your hero. You got your duo. Kira is a good pilot on Isle, obviously, and can rush on Launcher Strike Gundam should that come up, but is just sort of good on a lot of your units anyway. Overflowing Affection and Path of Victory or Defeat to find what you're looking for, and even more blockers with Striker Pack. This is sort of the last mainline deck that I'm covering on the channel, and part of that was I haven't really wanted to play it. It looks pretty boring, quite frankly. It looks very good. It's a very good deck. I've played against it a bunch. It just hasn't been the most fun looking to me. And you just sort of bunker down until you get your big units and then you take over the game that way. Not a bad strategy, no judgment if you have been enjoying the deck. It just wasn't really fun for me. And yet somehow Aggro was still able to kind of outpace and get around a lot of it. So they have been tinkering with their decks a lot. Where Meteor controls in a weird place was when they teched for aggro, then other things were able to have an easier time beating them. But we're going to get into that in a moment. So in that regard, when I was playing Blue-White Tempo the other week, I liked a lot of that package, and it kind of could deal with stuff early, and then could also have some strong stuff to take over the late game. And I really appreciated that, so I tried to port a little of that over by bringing in the Sword Strike. That's sort of the main difference. I got rid of the Zawarts, and I wanted to try out these duos Leo. It can attack active units that are level 2 or lower. That is a nice way to deal with aggro threats from your opponent, because sometimes you'll have stabilize per se, but if they play a lot of little units and just go around all your blockers, you're kind of sunk there because they've probably already gotten rid of 5-ish of your shields by that point. Duos Leo doesn't let them do that. You kind of attack them. So I like that. And then in your non-aggro matchups, you could have something that can offensively deal damage to them. A Zawart obviously can't do that. But I still wasn't crazy about this. What I was finding was I didn't like bird mode. People swear by it, but if you are on the play, you don't get to do the magical Christmas land of bird mode into Death Scythe, into Wing Zero, blow everything up, by the way, including your bird mode. And that's going to be half your games, and when you find it later, it's sort of mopey against aggro decks. Like, that's not what I want to do on turn 3 anyway. I probably want to play my Lafrith or base or search with Overflowing Affection for something more useful. Wing Zero coming down on turn 8 or 7 with the ramp. Sometimes if you're super lucky, 6 if you kind of do magical Christmas land stuff and went second. By that point, you're probably pretty close to dead anyway. What I was finding in my games against aggro decks was Wing Zero wasn't like the survive until Wing Zero, clear the board, and then I'm all set card. It, in fact, has been most useful outside of my aggro games. What I was finding was in the aggro games where I was performing well, I had already stabilized by the time in the game when I would be able to play Wing Zero, and I'm just picking off little units now. It can be nice, like, if they try to do a second wave, like they've been saving up cards in their hand, and now they're going to try to go wide on you and play, like, 3 things in one turn. Then Wing Zeroing can be good. But I often found myself actually pitching it to Overflowing Affection in an aggro matchup, and using my smaller units to slowly whittle away at their stuff and just have better card advantage, and my units would all survive attacks and theirs wouldn't. So it didn't feel like an anti-aggro card to me. That's just too late in the game for it to be the most effective. Some players swear by 4 because they're like, when you see it, you really need to see it. I never felt like I needed to see it. Or when I did need to see it, it was on like turn 5. I obviously wasn't going to see it anytime soon, even if I had bird mode. Long story short, I then cut bird mode, and then we moved on to this deck. I leaned more into the tempo game plan, added a moo and an extra sword strike to really move through. Zawart's back again to kind of block things down. I went further on the duos Leos and the Lefriths. I'm down 1 pilot and hero and went an extra Kira because I wanted Kira for the sword strike. I didn't need heroes super early anymore, like I wasn't going to bird mode and hero to get a pretty beefy 5-4. So by the time I wanted it on like turn 6 or 5, depending on when I went first or second, I don't need to see hero right away. I rarely need to link it on a Wing Zero, and if I don't link it on a Wing Gundam, I'm usually using it to kill off 2-2s anyway, so not a big deal. And we went down 1 Overflowing Affection 2 to make room for that Hawk of Endymion. That's a good way to bounce an early tempo threat. You can bounce your char units. And I know it feels bad, because they're just going to get to rush it again the next turn, but that will take up most of their turn. Right on turn 3, they play Azaku 2, rush with char. You just bounce it. They'll do it again, but then they don't get to play 2 or 3 units instead, you know? And in worst case scenario, you attach it to your sword strike and you bounce a lot of things. And you could play something like this. I ended up not being in love with the duos Leos. They're good, but when I wanted to see them against aggro was on turn like 5 or 6. Because it's great at cleaning up units, but you're playing it on turn 2. You don't even get to attack with it till turn 3. You get 1 attack off with it, unless you go after their gun tanks if they have them on the field. You can't pilot duo on it on turn 3. You can't rush with it until turn 4. So maybe I'd go down to 2 and add another Zawart and a Sword Strike maybe, would be how I would do that. Let's do that now, for if people want to check this out later. So 2 Duo Leo, extra Sword Strike, and extra Zawart. I think this is what I would do going forward. If you wanted to play this tempo build, this is great. If there's a lot of aggro in your field, but you still want to play Meteor, this is what I would recommend. This went pretty smoothly as I was playing it. He had a lot of good effects in the long game, and you could clean up the board well before you even needed Wing Zero. Because you have your bounces, you have all your blockers, you have a bunch of Kiras, you can do great trades. Kira on duos Leo at the end of the game kills anything and just keeps going and going because it's giving -2 to all their stuff. Very good stuff you can do here. But when I was playing it this week, I was finding there just wasn't as much aggro out there anymore. And I was doing a lot of mirrors and a lot of blue-white tempos and even a couple RB pings. So I needed to kind of shift things around again. And that's the version we're going to play with today. So let me show that to you now. Okay, here's where I've ended up. I saw some people adding the big Shenlong for some mirror-y things, usually about 2, and then 2 Wu Feis to go with them. But they were also doing bird mode stuff. I'm still off bird mode. I don't love bird mode. When my opponents, my mirror match opponents have used it against me, it doesn't really bother me that much. You're not always playing on curve, I'm noticing, in the Operation Meteor mirror anyway. It's really about like the order that you sequence things in to see who gets through what. If aggro were fully dead, I think I would go up on 4 Gundam Death Scythe because it is really good in a lot of the bigger matchups, but it's not particularly excellent against a lot of the aggro or just really quick decks. Wing Gundam is very good against that because you can attack them the turn they play them. Big fan of that. But I wanted to I've still got our 7 blockers here of Zawart and Lefrith. I've gotten rid of the Kira package to fit in the Shenlong. I'm up to 4 Wu Fei, because I am playing 4 Shenlong. But Wu Fei also works with Wing Gundam. You don't get to rush with it, but you now have made a 6/6 that doesn't take damage unless it's more than 3 AP. And that's a pretty good place to be, and it pairs very well with Unforeseen Incident. Unforeseen Incident was one of the things that made me okay to go to this sort of medium version of Gundam Wing. It's not worried about aggro. It's not going all in Meteor control. It's playing in the middle ground with our level 4 Death Scythe and our level 4 Shenlong, these 4/3s. An unforeseen incident helps you in bigger matchups because you get to kill their things and they won't get to kill yours. Mirror match, it's particularly devastating. And in aggro matches, it can eat up a turn because, as you see, we don't really have a lot of things to do on turn 3. We have one of our 4 level flea blockers, the Lefrith. That's great. Sometimes we might have to play a base early to use up that turn well. We have an overflowing affection. We could draw stuff there, but that's a turn that kind of worried me, but having this unforeseen incident made it a little better. If we've got a base out already, it lets their big thing not be able to crash through it in one hit, and then that eats up a lot of their attacks, so that's pretty good. That is why I've lived on this. I am uncertain if I want this 5th base, the St. Gabriel Institute, or a 4th overflowing affection. There are games when you just draw all of your level 5 and 6 things, and you don't get to play a lot of that game because your opponent has ran over you. St. Gabriel does draw you a card and lets you sort of filter your draws coming up a little bit. So it's sort of like an overflowing affection. You don't have to discard a card, and you put your second card on layaway, but you know what it is. That has an advantage. Plus, it fits into other parts of your game plan, i.e. being a defensive. The 5 makes it less exciting than obviously our underground desert base at a 0/6, but as a 5th base has its utility. Right now, I'm keeping it in there and just seeing anytime do I draw it, do I wish this were an overflowing affection? I had one game where I did, but most of the time it didn't matter, or having the base was nice, so I'm keeping it as it is. So sorry that this was a lot longer-winded than normal, but I wanted to kind of walk you through the thought process that brought me here, because I really did do a lot of tinkering. Like when I was working on the other decks and kind of fine-tuning them to my playstyle, I feel like I got in a good place with them pretty quickly. This deck was really hard, and I knew it was going to be difficult, so that's why I put it off for so long, to just find it interesting and have fun with it. This, well, not like, wee, we're having a good time. I think this is the version I would play for a bit, and when this version became not ideal, I probably wouldn't play the deck. It doesn't mean that other version I showed you in the aggro heavier metas isn't good. It just was less fun to play when I was playing that. This fit a little better into the style that I liked. But this is the version we're going to go with today. And what we're going to go against, as I've been talking about, one of the enemies of Meteor Control are rush decks. And this one's pretty mean and lean, and Char and Amuro can get past our blockers, so I thought it would be a fitting challenge for us. They can flood the board early. If you watch my last 1 Year War vs. Freedom Blockers video, that card should be above. You can see how swarming is sort of the deck's main path to victory. So check that out, but you can look in those videos if you want the full nitty-gritty deck tech, but basically we play a lot of little units, and then we use our linked units with Char to high maneuver through them. Amuro taps down blockers. G-Fighter gives the 12 of our white base units high maneuver to help us finish off the game. Siegeploy does that too. Corsica base gives us tokens and lets us flood with those. When we deploy them, Char's Gelgoog and the 2 Charzakus all have value on them in some form. Char's Gelgoog gets a pilot back from the trash that we've already used, and Charzaku 2 gives us another card. That's the starter deck version, and the mainline version, the main set version, gives us an extra 3/1 unit when it dies. So lots of value here. It can get off to a really hot start. Hopefully, with our new version of Gundam Meteor, we didn't sacrifice too much of that early game coverage in our attempt to do better against the other big decks in the format. All right, so stay tuned for the gameplay. Okay, so I know this hand may not look exciting if you're looking forward to crashing in with your Death Scythe and your Wings, but it's a very good hand against aggro. We have Overflowing Affection to look for stuff that we need. We have a blocker. We're also player 2, so we can play our Lefrith on turn 2. We even have this Unforeseen Incident to slow down attacks when necessary. It only costs 1. We have duos. If we find Little Death Scythe, we can kind of rush with it. We can probably pitch one of them to this Overflowing Affection if it comes to it. So I'm willing to keep this hand against the rush deck. I probably would still do it if we were going first, but I really do like it going second, because we can play this Overflowing Affection right away. I don't often feel the need to do it on turn 1 just to have something to play. I usually wait until I have something I know I want to discard, and I don't mind discarding one of these duos early, because I do want to find more blockers or things to slow them down. Like, we already have a duo for this Death Scythe whenever that comes around, so I think that's pretty good. They play their 1/1, you know, they'll have an extra unit, they'll probably have 3 units at the end of next turn, but at least they won't be able to get rid of our base next turn, so we are still buying time, and that Lefrith will come online to slow down some of their attacks. Let's play this Overflowing Affection. Alright, so I'm actually going to discard this Wing Zero. Why? Because I don't need this for another 6-7 turns. I don't want this rotting in my hand when, if I do draw another Gundam Death Scythe, big or small, I could rush ahead with my duos. There are 2 other ones in the deck. Of course, they could be in the shield, but by the time I get to level 8, I probably have either lost or have a good handle on the board, and I'm not worried about wiping everything. So it's totally reasonable in the early turns of the game to pitch your Wing Gundam Zero. Away you go. And now I get this Shenlong to go attack with. That'll be nice, because I'll get to do offense and defense. It's why I like it in the Shenlong Slam aggro decks as well. You can take a look at that video too in the card above. Excellent Mirror Breaker. So we'd have another unforeseen incident. We can keep gobbling up attacks. We're going to get to stop. We're going to get to stop the Zaku 2, and the gun tank and the DOP will clear our base, but they won't hit our shields yet. So we are getting in a pretty good position. I would like to find another blocker or a base coming up, but at least we have this Lefrith that's going to be able to block 1 attack this turn. I might even go aggressive with it on the following turn, because they're going to Amuro on turn 4, pretty likely anyway. We will pass. We want to try to save our EX resource, because we do have this Death Scythe to come in. Okay, alright, we can't block this. Oh, no. Oh, they put it on the 2/2. That's interesting. They really went for that. So 1 attack is going to go through on shields here. That doesn't feel great, but doesn't feel terrible. I could also use a duo on this Lefrith to kill that thing next turn. Alright, we're going to let them get the base. They wanted to... I thought they had put a Char and one of the Link units on with it, and that would have been a real headache for us. We are not going to block this attack. We're going to let them have it, because otherwise... I don't want to use this EX resource, because if I draw a Wu Fei next turn, I'll be very happy to use that to clear off their blockers. We're not going to block the DOP, because this gun tank has more health, and I just want to make sure that one dies. If they put a pilot on that, then like our face looks red, but that's not a great use of their resources. Not going to block that one. We're not going to stymie that attack. Hey, we got another duo. I won't feel bad putting that on the Lefrith now. This one we will block. So that's the other thing with the 11 pilots and the 5 bases. There are a lot of burst targets here in the shields. That can be good. It might have been correct to use the EX resource to play the unforeseen incident, but it was going to finish... Our base was going either way. That resource and a later turn... Oh, we've drawn all the Leos. The duos. Okay, duo going here. Going to attack this Zaku 1. Zaku 2, I mean, with the Char on it. It's going to live because we have the duo defense now. And they can't kill it with a DOP on the crackback, though they likely won't do that anyway. I'm going to hold up these unforeseen incidents. Is that even worth it, though? Do I just want to Shenlong and start clearing up the base next turn? If they Amuro and tap it and attack it, that sucks for us. We are getting really close to dropping this Death Scythe. Alright, I'm going to hold the unforeseen incidents. Like, they won't help us if they drop a big Amuro, but even then they're only hitting 2 of our shields. Like, that takes up their whole turn, so I'm not sad about that. We're just going to end the turn here. This is that turn 3 I was talking about where we don't always have a lot to do. But we're through that woods now, and we're going to get to do a lot. So I could use one here to block their attack. Do I think that's a good use? Do I want to see if I can find a pilot or a base here? What am I going to play? If I don't find a pilot next turn, I can still hold up an unforeseen incident. I can play both, though, if they want to aggro attack my blocker here. And I'm going to have a lot of great trades after this, so I don't worry about unforeseen incident as much. All right, I am going to greedy use one here. It was part of our plan. So we've eaten the attack. No damage there, and it is indeed the Amuro, so there's... Okay. We die even if we unforeseen incident this. And that is just going to be what it is. I'm glad we didn't run out that Shenlong, because that Shenlong would be dead now. And now if we run out the naked Shenlong, we can use that unforeseen incident to keep it a lot. No, it would die too. Yeah, we just sort of need to put a pilot on that guy, I guess. Oh no, we got the Chang Wufei anyway. This is pretty sweet. So we could just go kill that Gundam right now. I don't feel a giant need to do that, because if they want to trade into my Shenlong, well, we have this unforeseen incident just hanging out here, ready to eat it up. And we get to kill the dot for free and burst this base. So I think we're going to do that, and I'm glad we don't have to awkwardly play the duo on the Shenlong, though that's still a 5-5. Like, that's not terrible. Okay. We are just going to kill Dot. We're going to take no damage. Wufei, excellent draw there. And they've only got 3 cards in hand, and we have a bunch, and the best is yet to come. They have so few cards in hand, it's not really the end of the world if we have to burn this EX resource and take off another turn. They don't want to attack our Shenlong anyway. I'm fine with that. Do they want to attack it with this? Gelgoog. No. They are going full aggro, as they should. There's no point in using the unforeseen incident here, so we kill it off. Okay, we're going to pass. So our Death Scythe's going to be able to kill one of these for free. Our Shenlong's going to be able to kill one of these for free, thanks to our unforeseen incident. And then on a following turn, we'll have a Zawart. They only have 1 card in hand. They'll have 2 next turn. They might be able to play a couple units, but we have that Zawart to hold them back. And at some point, we're going to find one of our bases or our Wing Zero and just, like, go ham, or more blockers. Like, there's a lot of things we can do to stabilize here. So let's go play the Death Scythe. Play the duo on it. We're going to get our resource and first strike. We're going to kill this. We're going to definitely make sure the Amuro dies in 1 hit. Yeah, they're both 5 AP, so it doesn't matter what we do. Bye-bye. We are going to attack this Gelgoog. We're going to play... We're going to be level 7 next turn, so that's pretty fine. So you could say, you could just sort of take the trade here and make sure this 2/2's not attacking you. I get the need to do that when we only have 3 shields. But again, they have 1 card. Shenlong being alive lets us go aggro and defensive at the same time, because we're going to take out their shields as we're killing off their units. Because we turned that into a 2 AP unit with Unforeseen Incident, it didn't do any damage to our Shenlong. There just were a lot of pluses to doing that there. Yeah, Unforeseen Incident I wasn't playing until this version, and I like it a lot. They're so afraid of this Shenlong, they're giving up their unit to kill it. Totally fine with me. I have no problem with that. And we drew the base anyway. Let's play that before we play anything else, because we'll have the maximum information to know what our hand is. And we're going to be able to play everything now. Zawart comes in, Death Scythe comes in, and we're even going to put a duo on it, and we're going to go in, attack their shield here. Okay, we've given them a Char Aznable. At this point in the game, we might as well own it. They can't kill the base in 1 hit with a Link unit anyway. I guess if it is a Char's Gelgoog, they can. And then we'll be down to 1 shield, but then we'll mop up their units after that. Finish it off here. Nothing there. Okay. They will, if this thing dies, like, they're saving it. We're going to let them attack that. I'm not sure what their game... They want to finish it off with another unit, but then all their units are dying. Like, you could say, Patrick, block with the Zawart, trade off your units, because if they char onto something now, I can't block it anyway. I get that. That's very fair. But if they use that rush unit to kill my underground base, that's fine. I'm going to kill it next turn. If they use it to finish off my Death Scythe, that's fine, because their thing is going to die, and I also got to kill this Charzaku too. They don't have enough gun tanks to pin me dead here, so there's no point really in blocking. I'd rather save this Zawart for the unknown. I got rid of a unit anyway. Yeah, why didn't they put the char on that? They wouldn't have been able to... They could have killed my baby Death Scythe. They would have gotten a 3-1 unit, but I would have just killed that anyway. We're on wingtable.net, and there is an AI element to it. That's the opponent that we're playing. I use the Patreon. I subscribe to the Patreon, so I get a better AI, and it has gotten better over the months since people have started using it because it's learning. But every now and then it makes a weird play like that, where obviously that probably isn't a winning play, and sometimes it goes into tantrum mode when it sees that it can't win. Like, even if it traded off there and got that 3-1... Like, whatever, I block it with a Zawart anyway, and then I slowly chip away at them with this Death Scythe. So, you know, and all they were going to follow it up with was a Zaku 1. Not the end of the world in the face of my 0-6 base. And maybe it just saw the writing on the wall and was like, "Wah." And even if for you Show of Resolve believers in there in One Year War, like, drawing that isn't really putting you in a better position to win here either. Let's go in with the 5-5 first. There is a base. They don't get any tokens from it. Now the base is gone. And we have a follow-up Zawart. And even if they play a base next turn, they'll have no shields left, and we should be able to clear everything. Okay, I'm just going to block with a Zawart here. No need to let them finish off my Death Scythe, especially with a unit that can't attack. Okay, if this gun tank had been a Xeon unit, they could have pitched it to get Char back and attack with the Gelgoog. They could have theoretically cleared my base. I still would have been able to kill them next turn, most likely, if this last shield isn't a base. If they wanted to kill off my Death Scythe, that's fine. Because now they're totally empty-handed, and I won't kill them next turn, but I'm going to be very close to doing it, and I still have a blocker to throw against whatever they have afterwards, but they won't even be able to rush anything unless the shield is a pilot. Are you seeing how we just, like, slowly just took control of the game? Alright, let us see what this last shield is with Little Death Scythe. They did get a pilot. There's a lot less linkable units for that, and only one of them clears that base in one hit anyway, so it's not the scariest thing. And then Death Scythe will kill them. Okay? So we were able to weather those early turns pretty well with the lower down version of the deck. We did draw this one big heavy Death Scythe, but it was the only real expensive thing we had. Those unforeseen incidents came in clutch. Like, that opening hand played out the way we hoped that it did. So don't be afraid to mulligan. We obviously didn't have to mulligan there, but, like, those are the types of hands you want. Ones that can slow your opponent down if they are an aggro deck, like this. All right, in Meta Meditations, we do best of 3 to make sure there aren't any flukes or weird things happening. There's a lot of variance in the Gundam TCG, so let's go to the next game. We're going first, so it's going to take us a while to get to level 4. We have a lot of blockers for level 4, but we can't even use them at the same time. Overflowing Affection can get rid of one of them, but there's no guarantee we're going to get something that helps us live a long time. If one of these striker packs were a different blocker, an earlier blocker, or a base, maybe I'm listening, but I think we have to be disciplined here and mulligan. These are all 3 of our striker packs, by the way. That's some crazy variance. Okay, we have a base. We have an unforeseen incident. We can even rush our Shenlong whenever we get to that point. So I don't hate this. This would have been a scenario where this being the other base would have been nice, the St. Gabriel, because we would have gotten to shift our draws a bit. We would have been able to use all of our resources at a time when we'd want to. So they're definitely going to get into one of our shields next turn. Because that Zaku 2's coming in hot, and the DOP is going to be able to follow it up. But I think I'm okay with that. Oh, you know what? We'll just use our unforeseen incident. We'll just use it on that Zaku 2. Is that worth it? Maybe it's worth it on the following turn, but if I find a blocker... No, we're just going to pass. We will use the unforeseen incident here. Oh, I can't because it's level 3. Well, that's fine. Because we're going to get to play our base next turn. If we find a blocker, we play that. If not, we have the unforeseen incident to slow down their attack. They have 2 of the Zaku 2s that get +2. That's not ideal. But if we get a Lefrith into our hand from the shields, that slows that down quite a bit. We also have the unforeseen incident to stop one of them. If they don't have a Rush Zaku 2, then the 5 will not clear that base. And then next turn, Shenlong can wipe up one of them. So let's play the base. Let's see what happens. A striker pack. So we have that as a turn as well, if we'd rather do that. Like, say, if we find a Lefrith or a Zawart, then I think 2 blockers would be better than the 1 Shenlong. We're going to pass, and let's see what they've got. Okay, well, that's bad news, Bears. And an aggressive use of the Char, but I am going to use it on there. They're going to get 1 attack through. Okay, they should now attack with the Char Zaku. Okay, they are attacking in the right order. I'm okay with that. They could, if they play 2 units here, we might just be dead. Like, that might have been a good use of the Char. No, because they had 1. They could have just rushed with that. We do have 2 blockers, though. We can block anything. It'll be annoying if they have a Amuro or really just a Amuro. It doesn't really matter what they have after that, because we are so close to death. We are going to have no shields left, unless one of them is a base or another striker pack, which is a good consideration for blocking with the striker pack first, to make sure that dies in case you find another one. Zawart. Striker pack. So because of that, we want the sword strike. We want to make sure this thing dies. They are likely to attack with their 1-cost things first, which is unfortunate. Oh, they're not. Okay, great. We are going to block with this one. They are going to get a card out of that, which sucks for us. Maybe that's why they wanted to attack with it first, in case it was a Gelgoog or something. And they did have the Amuro. They should have just gone for lethal there. Maybe they're afraid I'm going to have a shield or a striker pack. Not a shield. An unforeseen incident in this shield would be useful. A striker pack we'll take. And we will block. They might not have a good follow-up, which is why they felt like the need to get rid of my blockers. But we need a base here. And I don't even think... Yeah, we needed that underground base, and then our Shenlong, and then maybe we live. But we just got run over here. Even our Shenlong Wufei was not enough. They just had the low aggressive curve. I don't even know if I want to give them that Char in the graveyard. Like, that's just bad news for me. And then use this path to try to find a hero. Well, we did find the hero, and there's the underground base. We weren't going to find that for a couple turns. So hero, we can breach another unit, but they just have so many high attacking things. I think I have to kill the Zaku 2 in case that 0-6 base does flip over, and just if they have the Gelgoog, they have it. Okay, what have we got? Oh, I have to end the turn. My bad, everybody. Okay, 06 base, 06 base. And we're dead. Wow. Yeah, them having that armor on that turn so I couldn't block one of these units, huge. Devastating. This would have been tough to come back from too. They just were able to do the thing where they emptied their hand and cleaned our clocks. We needed to find more of those units. We did mulligan trying to do that, and that hand ended up not being super great either. We died on our turn 5. We didn't even get to play any of our cool monsters. This Wing 0, dead in our hand. Even if we had bird mode, just one extra resource. And getting this Wing 0 hero out a turn earlier wouldn't have mattered, because they just have too many units on board. That's why Wing 0 doesn't feel like the aggro matchup answer to me. It's just a nice little bow on top. It's much better in other decks where they have like 6/5s coming at you, because it gets to survive those. And it's good against blockers because it has high maneuver. All right, we're going to go to game 3. We are going first again. That is a handicap here, though this is a good hand to be going first with. Turn 2, Zawart. Turn 3, Lefrith, hold up, unforeseen incident. Our unit is very late in the game, and our pilot doesn't even go with it, but we do have 4 units we could draw for this Wufei. If we end up having to put it on the Wing Gundam, that's no slouch. It's a 6/6 that won't take damage from little units, which this deck, the one-year war deck, mostly is. No mulligans here. And a striker pack. All right, this is turning out well for a going first matchup. This is good. They are going to play 2 units, I bet? No. Okay. Well, Zawart's going to be able to stop that. I'm a fan. And let's see what they do next. And we'll just block. We have blockers to spare. Whew. Are they going to... Yes. No. Okay, they just wanted to flood board. That's fine. Lefrith is doing well here. And I think I actually might use the unforeseen incident. Well, if they pilot it... In the turn. So there is a world where I only block the Zaku 1 so that my Lefrith lasts a long time. But if they pilot this Char Zaku 2, I will feel bad about that. But if they pilot it now anyway, that base is going to break because I won't be able to stop it and my Lefrith won't be able to kill it. Alright, I am going to block with this 1-2. If they have the pilot, oh well. And I'll be able to block a lot more things with this in future turns. They want to trade. Do I blow them out here? I don't think this attack was all that great. Especially when I give it 0-3. And now the Char is coming? No. Okay. How bizarre. Well, I am going to make another 2-4. I have this unforeseen incident that if they want to Armoro attack me or whatever, I could play this Chang Wu Fei, but I think I'm going to hold it. I don't think there's a strong benefit to me making one of these a 4-5. Armoro can tap it anyway. Let's just end the turn. Unforeseen incident coming in great in these aggro matchups. I probably, if they had attacked my shields, I probably would have used the unforeseen incident on their last turn. I'm going to block here. And they are far from getting into... Like, the consideration is to block with my 2-4, my 2-4 token, I should be specific. Because if there's another striker pack in there, I don't want that to go to waste. But my Lefrith does already have 1 damage on it. My Launcher Strike won't die if I block this Char Zaku 2, which he's attacking with way too aggressively. We're going to utilize the blocker. We're going to use the token. He got a dot. That's pretty good for us. And there comes the... No Amuro. Okay. We will pass then. Okay, there's a hero. So I'm gonna unpath to victory here. One, because I don't have that much better to do. Two, if I find the little Shenlong, well, that's not even that great here either, actually. Well, let's just see what we find. There's a lot of things that would be nice to use here, and then we can maximize our resources for other ones. All right. Well, it's a bunch of pilots. So let's just get a duo, because that goes with our Death Scythe, and we can play that next turn, because they're likely to attack us. Yeah, like, I'm in such a good position here, because they haven't done any damage to me. And they clearly don't have a lot of small... Well, I guess they could be saving their small units and, like, play 3 next turn. But I do have all these blockers. And I can let the DOP kill my Launch Striker. Let's just end the turn here, and we have our Unforeseen Incident up. Do we want to use it here, folks, to keep that base from... I mean, we don't know what their other... They could have another attacking unit in there. But we could next turn rush with the Wing 0. No, I think we will use the Death Scythe. I think that ramping will help us out in later turns. No, we will not block the Gundam. We will block... here. The only thing I can't... If they rush a thing with Char, I can't block it anyway, and if that's a Striker Pack, that feels bad. And I can't Unforeseen Incident that low enough. Okay, we're gonna block with the token. Keep our options open. And now they have Char? No. Just some big units. Alright, and we will pass. Another Chang Wufei. There's a world where I could use my bonus resource, because I only need 5 to do the Death Scythe play. There's a world where I could put a Chang on the Gundam Lefrith, but I can block the Charzaku 2 anyway. And then they only get 1 hit, maybe 2 if they have a rush unit. Or finally an Amuro. They haven't seen an Amuro yet. One of them is coming, I know that. But we'll get this free attack in with the Death Scythe. Getting it against this, you know, repairing Gundam is not bad for us. We can unforeseen one of the attacks as well, and that could keep my Lefrith alive that way. They want to trade there. That is odd, but I'm going to let them. If they want to try to kill it with their Gundam, like, they got a Gelgoog off that. Is there Char in here? Well, there isn't, so there's that. I think I'm going to let them have this, because I would much rather use Unforeseen Incident when I attack their unit and live with my Death Scythe. So I think that's fine. And we're not going to block it. Okay, Death Scythe 2. So we can Wing 0 this Gelgoog. Wufei! Okay, so I am going to... Yes, because if I kill that Gelgoog, my Wing 0 does still live. And I can protect it on the crackback with my Lefrith. Okay, so we're going to attack this Gundam here. We're going to Unforeseen Incident that Gundam, so I take no damage. I've essentially gotten first strike again. Now we play Wing Gundam. Now we attach Hero Yui to it, and we get rid of this Gelgoog. And we get rid of their base at the same time, and we're in a pretty good stable position here. We had those blockers early, and it definitely helped. They want to... They must have a gun... They must have a gun tank in there, would be my guess. But do I want to keep my Wing 0 alive? Is my thought. Like, I don't know what they have in their hand. They could have a bunch of units, you know? They could rush something and kill one of my units, but their unit's definitely dying too. And then they don't get... They could use their gun tank on my Lefrith, but at that point, like, whatever. Alright, we're gonna block here. Our Lefrith does live. They have a Tall Geese. They have a Gelgoog. Still no Char. Okay, okay. All right. I will lose my Lefrith, but it has done its duty, and their board will be totally cleared. I think that is the way to go. All right, Wing Zero coming in useful in an aggro matchup, and it is on turn 9 when they only had 2 units that we killed with it. I think people envision a different scenario when that unit's played, but that scenario doesn't happen without you being almost dead. And here I don't mind potentially giving them a pilot card, because if they want to rush and kill my units, that's fine. They've lost 2 cards for each unit that they kill. If they want to go after my shields, that's also fine, because I'm going to kill their units on the crackback, and I have plenty of shields to spare. I'm hoping we find a good home for these Wufeis. There's a very good chance I just turn Wing Zero into a 6/9, and then it's definitely going to live through most things, because I just have this embarrassment of Wufeis. They get 2 1/1s, and they're going to rush that Char. They're going to kill my Wing Gundam. I think that's a very good move. Okay, and they've refilled their board. All right, let's see if we can find something super useful off of this Path of Victory. I love this card. Oh, this feels bad. This feels bad. They played around the 1 Wing Zero. They weren't expecting to have to play around 2 of them. That is likely where your opponent would scoop and maybe even salt off on you. And again, we don't care about giving them pilots. Look at that. 5 cards we got to look for. Ugh, we got to pick one of them. I love Path of Victory Defeat. This was the card when this was spoiled that got me excited to play a deck like this. Just this type of filtering. Making this consistency builder. And you could look at that one that was for the aggro build that had the Kira package and be like, oh, are there enough hits? I haven't had any issues. Sometimes you do only find one thing. But I've never whiffed on it in the many times I cast it in that version. All right, let's go in. Let's crash on in. Okay. Well, ending the turn here. We have all of our resources in play. They have basically nothing. The Wing Zero would be good here to pick off units, and we've drawn more pilots. Not the most helpful, but they probably are dead this turn. So far so good. If this is a base, they're not dead, but they won't be able to kill us next turn anyway. Even with this Amuro, they wouldn't have been able to kill us. Okay, we have done it. Tight games. You saw, when we had a hard time putting our blockers together, we got effed. That just is the thing you're giving up in this matchup. We have made the deck a little better at fighting the aggro mirror. Not to mirror. The aggro matchup. But at the end of the day, if they do their exact game plan, there is not too much we can do if our hand is not good. The good news is that's sort of the hand you want against a lot of decks anyway. So you're always kind of looking for bases or blockers. Sometimes the bases aren't as useful, but your blockers always will be. And there are many ways where we kind of get screwed on a lot of our draws and we don't find those blockers. In the games we won, we found them. Going first or second, we still found them. When we don't find them, they're probably going to run us over. But you can try to play around that, and these lower level units can go aggro, but if you draw the bad cards, you're going to lose. Just like if they don't find their pilots in the right order. I didn't have any Amuros in there. This game's a lot closer if they find those earlier. I still think we win based on how our hand developed. But it gets a lot closer. Maybe we have to play a little more scared for part of that game. So it's not a free win, but it does make you a lot better against the mirror and against the red-blue and blue-white. So that's why I like this version more. The aggro version, just as good if there's a lot of aggro in your meta or you're expecting a lot of aggro at the new type challenges. That one maybe is a little better, but this one works just as fine too. So many, and you could play the old school Meteor control list. All 3 of those deck list links will be in the video description below, so you can kind of play around with whatever one you like. This is where I've enjoyed being, though, over the past week as I played through all the different variations and kind of tinkered and toyed around with the card selections. If you have any other thoughts on videos you'd like to see, any other decks or matchups, feel free to let me know in the comments below. You may also message me on Discord at Titan9. And other than that, have a good luck at your weeklies, everybody.